Okay, here with another episode of Engineering Culture with Nebraska men's basketball coach Fred Hoiberg. Coach, thank you so much for your time and joining me. First off, let me just start. Define culture. What is culture to you?
Yeah, well, culture obviously is one of the most important things that you have to build when putting a team together. And it starts with getting the right people on your team and in your program, and, to try to get the guys that live up to your core values. And it's something we always go back to. And, right now, when you look at what we had last year, we had a group that I think really got the culture where it needs to be. And when I look back at my time at Iowa State, I had a group of guys that we could bring anybody in and they had to conform, or the leaders on our team, would either push them to the side or, if they came in with a little bit of baggage or whatever it was, they knew they had to live up to what those leaders had established in our program. So last year, I give a lot of credit to our older seniors that we had in our program last year. Sam Griesel 100% was as responsible as anybody for, getting our program where it had to be. Emmanuel Bandamel is one of the best culture guys that I've ever been around. Derek Walker, who was in his 6th year of college basketball, his 4th year at Nebraska, saw some tough times early, and, we're really flipped a year ago. Derek was a big part of that. So, I think the big thing when you have a good culture like we had a year ago, it allows you to get through the tough times and the adversity when you continue to believe in each other. Our team had great chemistry a year ago, and, we were pretty darn good team. When we had our starting group, we were 7-3, really should have been 8-2 with a tough call against Purdue at the end of the game. But missing Derek the first 5 and then losing Emmanuel and Juwan in January, you have to have a strong culture in order to weather that storm. And that's what our guys did. And again, I give them all the credit in the world. Every week we have what we call our culture day. And sometimes it's Thursday. In the summers it's Culture Friday. And we come in. This last summer we all read the Energy Bus together. Oh, wow. And then every week 2 guys would get up and they would read 5 chapters, and then they would present what they talked about, and then we would open it up to discussion within the group. I thought it was great. And we'll go back after the trip that we had to Spain and hit back on a lot of the things that we learned from that book. And, it's just important to hit on culture weekly. Sometimes if we're getting a little stray, we got to bring the group back and continue to talk about our core values, what we keep going to when times get tough.
How do you build off of what I guess you described a little bit, but how do you build off of what last year the culture kind of felt like it flipped from a fan outside perspective? And then, but how do we build momentum on that?
Yeah, how do you keep it going?
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. And, when I talk to my coaches about making sure we continue to get the right guys in here, and, when you get a group of guys that work, it makes your job so much easier as a coach. Joe Dumars, I think, had a great quote when he said, good teams, the coach leads the team, and great teams, the players lead the team. So if you can instill that into your older guys, into your leaders, obviously we're still very involved in setting the culture, but once you get everybody to believe in it, and you get all, for us, 17 guys on the same page, it just makes life a lot easier. And we're going to go through tough times, as all coaches do, and we're going to create havoc, and we're going to create adversity so we can find a way to build and grow from those times. But to answer your question, Mike, to build on what we did last year, it was all about getting the right guys.
Right.
Getting Josiah Alec, a guy that's going to play extremely hard, getting rink masked. Yeah. He's all about the right things. 2 of the hardest working guys I've ever seen. Bryce Williams, has a lot of talent, but he's a great kid. Just getting the right guys in here. Our young guys are freshmen. They've got a lot to learn, but they're great kids and they're hard workers. So again, just getting the right guys in here to build on what we created.
Guys like Kale Jacobson is a culture guy. Like he's about as hardworking as you can get. Local, obviously, guy. Kind of him and Sam last year were pretty key, I guess, into that kind of culture shift feeling.
Well, you don't have to be a starter,
right,
or even a rotation guy, right, to have a positive impact on the program. And you're 100% right on Kale. Kale came in a little quiet,
right,
but the work ethic, he's in there every day. And then Sam, couldn't be more proud of what he and Jamarcus did when we had those injuries. You had Jamarcus, who was a little in and out of the rotation, and you had Sam, who was playing on the scout team, and now they're asked to be thrown into a major role, and both those guys didn't skip a beat because of how they worked. And again, when you have, and I talk to our guys all the time about this, because in my career, I was a guy that took advantage of opportunity when they presented themselves. That's what Sam and Jamarcus did a year ago. But Kale, Sam, Jamarcus, those young guys, by them continue to work, not complaining about their role, and then when they got the opportunity to be thrown into the fire, they took complete advantage of it. And really, Sam and Jamarcus are two of our more important guys at the end of the season when we went on our big run.
The NIL obviously is a thing, right? It's a huge deal right now. How do you had major success. You were the first, a lot of people say you're the first person when you're at Iowa State, the transfer, really taking advantage of transfers and really winning with transfers. How much has that changed from then to now? And it's a lot, but what have you seen?
Well, it has changed a lot. Back in, I guess it was 2010 when we put that first transfer class together. That was Royce White, Chris Allen, Chris Babb, and Anthony Booker, four really high-level players and high-level recruits where they went. It didn't work for them in their previous school. So, for us, it was a way for us to get better in a hurry. I guess I would say to this, Mike, back then, we did compete against Kentucky for Royce. We were lucky because of the proximity to home. He wanted to be close. So we got really lucky with Royce. And then with those other guys, they really liked our style and how we were going to play. So, even that first year, when we took over, we went 16-16, had a pretty darn good year for as thin as we were. But when I saw the chemistry that those transfers were building together, that's back in the old days when we had to sit out.
Right.
But, those guys, I knew that next year we'd take a big jump, and then we made 4 consecutive tournaments, something that had never been done at Iowa State, and got the 2 Big 12 tournament championships. So really fun stretch. But today we're just competing against so many more people now.
Everybody.
With transfers, it's everybody. Back in those days, Kansas or Duke might take, one every couple of years. But, now people are building teams to stay older. There's still obviously a very talented freshman class. But if you don't have a couple veteran-type players, you're going to struggle because those freshmen have such a learning curve. So it's just the amount of teams that we're competing against. We didn't have that many when we first started putting that team together at Iowa State.
How difficult is it to maintain the culture piece with the amount of transfers? I mean, we see it all over college basketball. It's kind of hard. It feels like to keep that culture in place and together when there's just the rosters change every year.
Yeah, again, I would just take it back to getting the right people that fit who you are, that fit who you want to be, and that fit your core values. So, listen, I think we're in a good enough place now. If you bring in a kid, again, they're going to have to conform because of the makeup of your leaders. And listen, I dealt with it in the NBA for 19 years as a player, as an executive, and as a coach. You're bringing in guys halfway through the year in trades, and you have 1-year guys that come in, and then they're a free agent, and you're bringing in new players. So, it's part of the, I guess, makeup of what I have dealt with my whole career. So, again, it's just the biggest thing, Mike, is just all about bringing in the right guys. And I feel the last couple of years we've done a really good job.
Yeah. Nebraska it's documented, right? Your history with the state and everything and family and all of that. But what's maybe the one surprise as far as just being in Lincoln and now, years into this?
Yeah, we absolutely love it here. It's, I was born in Lincoln.
Right.
My parents both went to the University of Nebraska. My dad got his PhD. And when I was 2 years old, that's when we moved our family to Ames. But both of my grandfathers were in the university. My dad's father was a sociology professor, and my mom's dad was the basketball coach here for 9 seasons.
Yeah.
So even though I didn't grow up here, we spent a lot of time and holidays back here. It's just, I think a lot of the thing that, and I didn't even realize this, Lincoln's almost 300,000 people.
Yeah.
So, I come from Ames where it was, when I was growing up, it was 25,000 of those were students. Now it's about 75. So, you're looking at 3 times, the population in Lincoln. Very supportive. I think it's as supportive a fan base as you have anywhere in the country. And, just the connections are something that's been fun for me to talk to my grandfather's old players. My grandfather passed away when I was 3, my grandpa Bush. And, to hear the impact that he had on his players' lives and help shape them and mold them and help them on with their career. I think that's a big part of our job, is to mentor these kids and be there for them and whatever direction life takes them, hopefully help them be successful. And talking to people that were connected not only to my grandpa Bush, but my grandpa Hoiberg, the advisor role that he had as a professor, he helped shape people. So it's pretty cool to hear from people that are connected to my family.
And while we're on family, coaching your son now at this level is pretty fun. Probably a little different. like Carol's probably like, hey, you can't yell at him like that.
Yeah. It's when you take a breath and you look back on it, like when you're in the heat of battle, you're just trying to do everything you can to put the right player out there. The thing I'm really proud of Sam is just, everybody in the team saw how much he worked.
Right.
And, when you look from an analytic standpoint last year, his analytics were the best on the team by a pretty wide margin. Second was Derek. So, the impact he had on the floor on both ends, was pretty remarkable for a guy that probably wouldn't have played had we not had the injuries, just being real. So, coached against my son Jack, which is pretty cool as well, when he was at Michigan State. And now having the opportunity to coach Sam on a daily basis, it's pretty fun. Yeah. And, to see the end of the Maryland game and the end of the Wisconsin game with the 2 big defensive plays that he made. But I know he has the respect of his teammates because of how he plays, how he works, and what he's all about.
It's not just coach's kid.
Exactly.
Someone once told me it's better if you're coaching your kid, it's better if they're either the absolute best on the team or one of the worst on the team, because there's it doesn't get muddled.
Right.
Is that?
Yeah, and I was kind of told that same thing. Yeah. When Sam joined the team, and I think McDermott had a pretty good with Doug.
He's the one that told me that. Yeah. By the way, I didn't know if we were.
And listen, I coached Doug for a year and a half in Chicago.
Right.
Absolutely love him, and he's now my son Jack's working for the Spurs. So nice. He's got a chance to be around Doug all the time, and Greg's a good friend. Yeah. So it is, but again,
Iowa guys.
Yeah. But if they're about the right things, if they're the thing that I give Sam a lot of credit, he was a big part of getting our guys off the court, spending time together, building chemistry. So I think he's a likable kid. And he just plays so darn hard. And, when you have that, again, you're going to have the respect of your teammates.
Yeah. He had a pretty cool photo the other day, and I guess his apartment got a new...
That's a new artwork.
Yeah. Did you see that?
I did.
We didn't. I laughed really hard at that. But the Spain trip was important for you guys. Why?
The great thing about those forward trips is the amount of time you spend together. And, we did some pretty unique things on that trip. And even on game days, we were taking our guys out to see some historical sites. That's really what it's about. I had a player, Melvin Edgem at Iowa State, who ended up being a Big 12 Player of the Year. He changed his major because of the forward trip we took to Italy. So, and was the Scholar Athlete of the Year in the Big 12. So it's, these trips, the practices are important. We had Rake for 6 of our practices before he went and joined his national team. And then the bonding time you get. And whenever we did a team meal, we took all of our, not only the players' phones away, but the staff, and put them in a Ziploc bag. And, it was really cool to see them interact with each other. We have a group that I think genuinely cares for each other, which is a great thing to have when you're on the court, especially in a close game. So from that perspective, that's the most important things. The games, played 3 of them. They were good experience for our players, especially the guys that didn't play a lot last year, like Kale, like Ramel. Jamarcus played purely at the point. So, from that standpoint, it was a benefit. But the bonding and the practices are the most important.
Development piece of some of those, maybe learned, like, hey, okay, maybe this kid can do, or player can do that. And,
100%. And, you look at a guy like Kale, and I started Kale at the 5 in our first game, and he finished the game at the 1.
Right.
He knows what we need. He knows what we want to do. He's tough.
Yeah.
He knows how to play. He's got basketball IQ. So, it was fun to see him grow. But again, it goes to his work ethic. When he was sitting out last year, he came in every day, has continued to develop his shot. I mean, probably the area that needed the most work with his game, and he hit some big threes at clutch times for our team over in Spain.
Okay, a couple more, and then I'll get you out of here. I know you're busy. Basketball or golf? What are you better at?
Well, I hope basketball. I mean,
yeah.
I'll say this: I could not have made a living playing golf.
Okay, but now,
oh God,
you could probably still get buckets.
Yeah, basketball. Yeah, every once in a while, my glory days in golf come out, but my body. I mean, once I hit 50, my body, I just wake up and the back, shoulders, neck. I mean, yeah, if I don't feel good, I can't play. But every once in a while, I'll wake up. Actually, the heat. I played a few times, and that heat. It was good for me because I was a little loose, and I had a couple of decent days. But yeah, shooting to me, I mean, it's like riding a bike a little bit. So yeah, I can still shoot a little bit.
I mean, you'd be a noon ball guy at like 75 out there. Toughest player you played against in your life?
Toughest guy.
Toughest and different than best. So.
Well, I would put him in the same. Okay. Well, I'll say this: the toughest guy I ever had to guard was Iverson.
Okay.
Yeah, just because of his speed. I didn't handle those quick. The best player I played against was Jordan, and I was fortunate in my career. I played against Michael. I played against Kobe. I played against LeBron.
Yeah.
So LeBron was a rookie.
Yeah.
In my last year playing, but to me, Michael in his prime, the rules are different than they were back then. I mean, you could literally hold guys, and when you played against the old Knicks, if you went to paint, you were going to get knocked on your ass. So, Jordan in today's game with the freedom of movement, he'd have shot 20 plus free throws a game. He couldn't have guarded. In his prime, there's no chance without a hand check to guard him. So he's the best. LeBron's probably the most talented. I mean, his ability to pass the ball is absolutely remarkable. Kobe to me is probably the closest to Jordan as far as a competitive aspect. So, but yeah, if you had to tell me who I think is the best, I'd give it to Jordan.
Okay. I was going to go toughest, like physically toughest. Probably.
Physically tough. Here's the guys I struggled, like the J.R. Riders, the Jimmy Jacksons, the Allen Houstons, those really thick, strong. I mean, those guys. I had Steve Smith, this with the size. Those guys were so tough to guard. If I didn't get them down here on their way up, I certainly wasn't getting it.
You're definitely fouling them.
Yes, put them on the line, exactly.
Is it most memorable basketball experience for you in your life?
I'd put it in a couple different categories. Winning a state championship at Ames High School is the best team accomplishment that I've had, and still share those memories with teammates from that. We just went on such a run. I think our closest game in the state tournament was 25 points. Wow. In college, had some really memorable ones. Oklahoma State game my freshman year when we came back from 25 down was probably the best game I've been involved in. And then of the pros, the Western Conference Finals run that we had with the Timberwolves had the biggest role on a really good team that year. If Sam Cassell wouldn't have torn muscle in his hip, he didn't play against the Lakers. That was Shaq and Kobe and Karl Malone, Garrett Payton. I think we probably would have won not only that series, but won the championship that year. So those were a great team. Garnett was the MVP that year. Really, really.
What about coaching?
Coaching, the team I had at Iowa State, we won the Big 12 championship, and we beat UNC Central the first game. We were a 3 seed. George Viang had 27 points, 8 of them on a broken foot. So best player on our team broke his foot. We beat Carolina. They were the 6th seed, and then lost to UConn, who ended up winning the national championship. So I think if Niang stays healthy, I think we're at least a Final Four team that year. That was the team that was the closest for me for getting the Final Four berth.
Okay, last one to Nebraska basketball fans, because you don't do these things very often, so I really appreciate that. But they're so loyal and passionate. I know guys that sit in the 300s and they've had season tickets forever, and you're trending in the right direction now.
Yeah.
Well, that next step looks like what?
Yeah, it's a great question, Mike. Last year's team, and I hear this from fans a lot, just being out, or I'm in the airport, I just come up at the grocery store, and they come up and talk about how enjoyable that team was to watch and follow last year. And the atmosphere is exactly where we needed it in PBA. I mean, the only loss we had in the last month of the season was Michigan State. We probably the best 30 minutes plus of the season. I mean, we were so good. And then they went on an unbelievable run and beat us. But, I feel really good about our program. And we got the right people in here. We got the right players for what we were trying to accomplish. And I think our future is very bright. So we were close last year. Now it's about taking that next step and hopefully getting this program to where it's never been before. But I'm excited. I'm very optimistic about this group.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.